Hello and welcome to the special lecture series on socio-religious reformers in India. In today's class, we will be talking about one of the very prominent figures in the Indian history known as Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. So let us look at some of the important facts as well as contributions associated with none other than Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. So as far as the birth year and death year is concerned, the birth year is 1858 and the death year is 1962. So first important fact associated with Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve is that he was popularly known as Maharshi Karve. That means Maharshi in literal term, it means that great sage. So he was given this title Maharshi and his original name was Dhondo Keshav Karve. He was popularly known as Maharshi Karve. He is one of the most prominent religious reformers who worked for the emancipation of women and also worked for the rights of women in India. So this is one of the important facts associated with Dhondo Keshav Karve. So after his graduation in the year 1884, he got into something called as teaching, and thereafter we can see that he was appointed in 1891 as the professor of mathematics at Fergusson College, and thereafter he also started working for the emancipation of women along with his work as a professor of mathematics at Fergusson College. Thereafter we see that in 1893 he joined Widow Remarriage Association. Now this Widow Remarriage Association was started by Vishnu Shastri Pandit in the year 1865. So this is very important. This was not started by Dhondo Keshav Karve, it was started by Vishnu Shastri Pandit, and in 1893 Dhondo Keshav Karve became the member of Widow Remarriage Association, and with the influence of the same, that is of the ideas of Widow Remarriage Association as well as his own idea to work towards emancipation of women and women rights, he married a widow in the year 1893. Soon after he joined Widow Remarriage Association, he himself married a widow in the year 1893. Thereafter, Dhondo Keshav Karve went on to establish Anath Balika Ashram in the year 1896. So we can see that as soon as he graduated, he became professor, as well as on the sidelines he was also working towards the emancipation of women's as well as the idea of women rights, to be very precise, in India back then. So he joined Widow Remarriage Association in 1893. Thereafter he married a widow himself, and we also see that he established in 1896 something called as Anath Balika Ashram. Thereafter we can see that within the same year, that is 1896, he founded Widow Association, and in 1899 opened Hindu Widow Home at Pune. So we can see that in order to help the widow women he established Hindu Widow Home at Pune in the year 1899. So his association with the widow remarriage makes or it helps us understand that in chronology he also started working towards the emancipation of women or towards women's right with the establishment of Anath Balika Ashram by marrying a widow, as well as founding Widow Association, and later on opened Hindu Widow Home at Pune. Now this particular place, Hindu Widow Home, is now even now it is operational, but the name has changed now. Now this Hindu Widow Home later developed into something called as Hingne Ashram. So it is still operational, it is in Pune, and this was specifically for widows so that they can become self-supporting and trained. So this was the underlying objective of establishing something called as Hindu Widows Home at Pune, and later on this was changed into something called as Hingne Ashram. So it was established in the year 1899. So you can see the historical significance of such an important institution which was started by Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. So I hope the points associated with this side of the board are pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next side, which talks about further contributions as well as facts associated with Dhondo Keshav Karve. In 1907, Dhondo Keshav Karve started a school for women, and in 1916, this point is of immense importance, in 1916 Dhondo Keshav Karve set up India's first women's university. There were only 5 students, that's a different story altogether, but this is India's first women's university, and it was started in the year 1916. So this is again a very important thing which is associated, a very important fact associated with none other than Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. Later on a philanthropist known as, in 1920, this happened in 1920, 1916 he started the university with 5 women, and in 1920 Vittal Das Thakurse donated 15 lakhs so that university can expand, and probably to make sure that they incorporate more students, because it started with only 5 students and it was later on renamed as Srimati Nathibai Damodar Thakurse India's Women University, or Indian Women University, or SNDT. You must be aware of this institution which is in Pune, SNDT University. So therefore we can see that it was started by Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. There is a funding which comes from Vittal Das Thakurse, and later on the university was renamed as SNDT, or Srimati Nathibai Damodar Thakurse Indian Women's University. So this is again a very important fact associated with this, with the works or contributions of Dhondo Keshav Karve. Thereafter we see that in 1917 and 18, that is immediately after he established Women's University, we can see that Maharshi Karve also started a school called as Kanya Shala. You can see this school in Pune itself. It is called as Kanya Shala, or girls school. The literal meaning of this is Kanya means a girl child and Shala means a school. So girls school again in the year 1917 or 1918, during that time. And also he opened a training college for primary school teachers. So we can see that from establishment of a school, or rather from establishment of say ashrams or widow ashrams, to establishment of school and India's first women's university, and also schools as well as training centers for women, makes sense that, or it makes sure that his work towards women's right is really acknowledgeable. Thereafter we see that Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve in 1936 started something called as, in 1936 he started something called as Maharashtra Village Primary Education Society, again for promotion of education at the grassroots level, or Maharashtra Village Primary Education Society. Thereafter he established an important association called as Samta Sangh in the year 1944. The literal meaning of Samta Sangh means Association for the Promotion of Human Equality. Samta means equality. So therefore he started an association for the promotion of human equality in the year 1944. This is again an important contribution of Dhondo Keshav Karve. Thereafter we see that since the acknowledgements are very high, and also the contributions are very high, he was later on awarded in 1955 Padma Vibhushan by the government of India, and on the 100th year of his birth anniversary, that is 1858 to 1958, he was awarded the most important award, or the highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, by the government of India. So again here Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve, you can also call it Bharat Ratna Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. So we can see that in the year 1955 he was awarded a Padma Vibhushan, and on the 100th birth anniversary of Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve, he was awarded the highest civilian award called as the Bharat Ratna by the government of India. Thereafter we can see some of his writings, or he wrote 2 autobiographies. One was in Marathi and the other in English. The one which was written in Marathi is called as Atman Vrutta, which came in the year 1928, and he also wrote in English that is called as Looking Back. The name of the work is Looking Back, and it was published in the year 1936. So these are his writings, but all in all, if we look at the contributions as well as facts associated with one of the important personalities, Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve, we see that his work is really appreciable, and it is in line with what he was influenced with the ideas of Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar and all of the other members of the socio-religious reform movement in India. So these were some of the facts as well as contributions associated with none other than Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve, or Bharat Ratna Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karve. So I hope you like this series. Please stay tuned for more. Thank you.